Taman crawled through the narrow maintenance tunnel, his small body fitting easily where others could not go. The metal walls pressed close on both sides, and the air smelled like oil and hot circuits. He didn't mind the tight space. Being small had its advantages aboard the endless horizon. Above him, through the metal grating, he heard voices. Deep voices that rumbled like thunder. The Vrek security team was passing through the corridor. "Did you see the humans in the training room today?" one of them said. The voice belonged to Rylith, the second in command. They could barely lift the standard weights. How did such weak creatures ever leave their planet? Another Vrex laughed. The sound was like rocks grinding together. I heard one of them got tired after just 2 hours of work.
2 hours?
We work for 20 without rest. Prey animals, Rylith said with clear amusement. That's all they are. Soft little prey animals who got lucky and found fire. Taman kept working on the coolant pipes. His hands moved steadily, tightening bolts and checking seals. He'd heard worse in the 6 months he'd been on the ship. Most alien species looked at humans and saw weakness. They saw small bodies, soft skin, and blunt teeth. They didn't understand. But Taman didn't waste energy on anger. He just did his job. The voices faded as the Vrex moved on. Taman finished the repair and crawled back through the tunnel. When he emerged into the engineering bay, his friend Jiwoo was waiting. "Let me guess," Jiwoo said, handing him a cleaning cloth. "More comments about how fragile we are?" "The usual." Taman wiped the grease from his hands. "Rylith thinks we're prey animals." Jiwoo shook her head. She was the ship's medical officer, and she'd heard plenty of mockery, too. The other species didn't trust human doctors. They thought humans were too weak to understand real medicine. "One day they'll figure it out," she said. "Maybe," Taman replied. He wasn't sure he cared if they did or not. The comm system crackled to life. "All senior staff to the bridge, immediate." Taman and Jiwoo exchanged glances. Immediate meant trouble. On the bridge, Captain Orin stood before the main view screen. The captain was a Quellan, a species known for diplomacy. She looked worried. "We've received a distress signal," she said, "from the research outpost on Thuros 4. They stopped transmitting 3 hours ago." The view screen showed a green and brown planet covered in thick jungle. Taman had read about Thuros 4. It was classified as extremely hostile. Nothing lived there that wasn't a predator. Kovan, the Vrek security chief, stepped forward. He was massive, standing 9 feet tall with black scales that gleamed under the bridge lights. His eyes were like chips of yellow ice. "My team will investigate," Kovan said. His voice was calm and controlled. "We'll take a shuttle down and secure the outpost." "Agreed," Captain Orin said. "But I want a human representative with you. We need different perspectives on this mission." Rylith made a sound that might have been a laugh. "Captain, with respect, a human would only slow us down. Thuros 4 is dangerous. We need warriors, not prey animals," Jiwoo said sharply. "Is that what you were going to say?" Rylith's scales rippled with irritation, but he said nothing. Captain Orin held up a hand. "The decision is made. Jiwoo, you're needed in medical. Hyon is piloting. That leaves Taman." Taman felt every eye on the bridge turn to him. He stood quietly, his face showing nothing. Kovan studied him for a long moment. The security chief's expression was unreadable. Finally, he nodded. "The human will come, but he stays behind us at all times. I will not explain to the captain how we lost him to a jungle predator." "I can keep up," Taman said simply. Rylith snorted. "We'll see." 2 hours later, Taman stood in the shuttle bay checking his equipment. He wore light armor and carried a standard plasma pistol and a few tools. The Vrex around him wore heavy battle armor and carried weapons that looked like they could punch through starship hull. Kovan approached. Up close, the security chief was even more intimidating. His claws could easily tear through metal, and his teeth were designed for crushing bone. "Stay close to the group," Kovan said. "It wasn't advice. It was an order. Thuros 4 has predators that could kill you before you even saw them." "Understood," Taman replied. The shuttle dropped through the atmosphere. Through the viewport, Taman watched the jungle approach. The trees were massive, their canopy glowing with bioluminescent fungi. Everything seemed to pulse with life. They landed near the outpost. The moment the shuttle door opened, heat and humidity rolled in like a wave. The air was thick and smelled like rotting plants and something else. Something that made the hair on Taman's arm stand up. The Vrex moved out in formation. Their long legs covered ground quickly, and Taman had to jog to keep pace. Behind him, he heard Rylith mutter something to another warrior. They were laughing. The outpost appeared through the trees. It was a small cluster of buildings surrounded by a fence. The fence had been torn open. Long claw marks gouged the metal. Coven raised a fist and the team stopped. His eyes scanned the area, seeing in spectrums Taman couldn't perceive. The outpost is empty, but something attacked it. Something big. They moved through the ruined fence. Inside, the buildings were wrecked. Equipment lay scattered and smashed. There was blood on the walls, but no bodies. Taman knelt by one of the claw marks. He pulled out a measurement tool and scanned it. "These are deep." Whatever made them was powerful. "Obviously," Rylith said. "Even a human could see that." Taman ignored him. He stood and looked around, his eyes taking in every detail. The pattern of destruction told a story. The attack came from the jungle side. The scientists had tried to flee toward the shuttle pad, but something stopped them there. "We need to search the area," Coven said. "Set up camp. We'll investigate more in the morning." As the sun set, the jungle came alive with sounds. Howls and screeches echoed through the trees. The Vreks set up a perimeter with practiced efficiency. They moved with the confidence of apex predators who feared nothing. Tamin sat by the fire eating a ration bar. The Vreks ate raw meat they'd brought from the ship, tearing into it with their fangs. Rylith watched Tamin and shook his head. "Cooked food," the warrior said. "Another sign of weakness. Real predators eat fresh meat." Tamin took another bite of his ration bar and said nothing. Night deepened. The jungle sounds grew louder, then suddenly stopped. The silence was complete and total. Tamin stood up. "Something's wrong." Kovan was already on his feet, his scales rising in a threat display. "What did you notice?" "Listen," Tamin said quietly. "Nothing is making noise?" That means something scared everything else into silence. Kovan's eyes narrowed. He activated his scanner. For a moment, nothing appeared. Then a contact bloomed on the screen. Big. Very big. And moving toward them, the Vreks warriors raised their weapons. Rylith smiled, eager for a fight. Then it stepped into the firelight. The Thuros Ravager stood 12 feet tall. It had 6 limbs, each ending in claws as long as Tamin's forearm. Its hide was covered in natural armor plates that gleamed in the firelight. Its mouth opened, revealing rows of serrated teeth designed to rip and tear. The creature's eyes locked onto Kovan, 2 apex predators recognizing each other. For a heartbeat, nothing moved. Then the Ravager roared and charged straight at them. The Ravager crashed into the camp like a landslide. Kovan dove to one side, his weapon firing bolts of plasma that scorched the creature's armored hide. The other Vreks scattered, their training taking over. Tamin rolled behind a supply crate as the creature's massive tail swept through the space where he'd been standing. The tail smashed the crate to pieces, sending equipment flying. Rylith charged from the left, his claws extended. He moved with incredible speed for something so large, leaping onto the Ravager's back. His claws scraped against the armor plates, searching for a weak spot. The Ravager twisted with terrifying flexibility. Its middle limbs reached back and grabbed Rylith, yanking him free. The warrior had time for one surprise shout before the creature hurled him into a tree. The impact made a sickening crack. Rylith slumped to the ground, his armor shattered, struggling to breathe. "Concentrate fire on the head," Kovan shouted. The Vreks obeyed instantly. Plasma bolts and projectile rounds hammered into the Ravager. The creature roared in pain and anger, but its armor held. A few shots found gaps between the plates, drawing blood, but not enough to stop it. Tamin watched from behind cover. His mind raced, analyzing everything he saw. The Ravager was powerful and fast, but it wasn't invincible. It moved in patterns. When it charged, it always led with its left side. When it turned, it protected its right flank. The creature had a weakness there. Old injury, maybe. Or a birth defect. Something made it favor one side. The Ravager reared up on its back limbs, preparing to crush Kovan beneath its weight. The security chief held his ground, weapon raised, but Tamin could see he wouldn't get out of the way in time. Tamin moved without thinking. He grabbed his plasma cutter, a tool meant for ship repairs, and sprinted forward. His legs pumped hard, closing the distance in seconds. "Hey!" he shouted. The Ravager's head snapped toward him. Tamin saw its eyes focus on him, saw it recognize him as prey. Good. He fired the plasma cutter directly into the creature's right side, where the armor plates joined together. The tool wasn't designed as a weapon, but at close range the superheated plasma burned through the gap. The Ravager screamed. It twisted away from Kovan and fixed all its attention on Taimin. The human was already running. "What are you doing?" Kovan yelled. Taimin didn't answer. He ran into the jungle and the Ravager followed. The creature was faster than him. Much faster. Its 6 limbs ate up the ground and Taimin could hear it crashing through the undergrowth behind him. Any second now it would catch him. Any second those claws would tear him apart. But Taimin didn't run in a straight line. He cut left around a massive tree, then immediately right between 2 boulders. He ducked under a fallen log and jumped over a stream. Every few seconds he glanced back to make sure the Ravager was still following. It was. The creature barreled after him, smashing through obstacles that Taimin slipped around. Its breath came in harsh pants. The wound in its side leaked blood. Good, let it bleed. Let it chase. Behind them, Kovan and his team pursued. The security chief ran with powerful strides, but even he struggled to keep pace with the chase. He watched in confusion as Taimin led the Ravager in a wide circle through the jungle. "What is the human doing?" one of the Vrex warriors asked. "I don't know," Kovan admitted. "But don't lose them." 10 minutes passed. Then 20. Taimin kept running. His breathing was steady and controlled. His legs burned, but they kept moving. This was what humans did. This was what they were built for. The Ravager was slowing. Taimin could hear it in the creature's breathing. The crashes behind him came less frequently. The apex predator of Thuros 4 was getting tired. Taimin ran for 30 minutes. Then he stopped. He turned to face the Ravager. The creature stumbled into the clearing, its armor plates heaving with each breath. Its mouth hung open, dripping saliva. Its eyes were wild. It tried to charge. The movement was slow, clumsy. Taimin sidestepped easily, and the Ravager crashed into a tree. It turned, tried again. Taimin dodged again. The creature stood in the center of the clearing, swaying. Its powerful legs trembled. Its 6 limbs could barely support its weight. Kovan emerged from the jungle, weapon raised. He saw the Ravager, saw how it struggled to stay upright. One clean strike to the base of the skull and the massive creature fell. Silence filled the clearing. The Vrex warriors approached slowly, staring at the dead Ravager. Then they looked at Taimin. The human sat on a fallen log, breathing deeply but not gasping. His legs were still. He looked tired but not exhausted. Kovan walked over to him. The security chief's yellow eyes studied the human with something new in them. Not mockery, not pity. Something else. How? Kovan asked. "You should be dead. You should be collapsed. You ran for 30 minutes straight with that thing chasing you." Taimin looked up at the massive Vrex. "On my world, that's how we hunted. Before we had weapons. Before we had tools. We just ran. Everything on Earth is faster than us in a sprint. Lions, antelope, wolves, deer, everything. But nothing can run as long as a human." Taimin gestured at the dead Ravager. "We chased our prey for hours. Sometimes days. We ran them until their bodies gave out. Until they overheated. Until their hearts couldn't take it anymore. Then we walked up and finished them." Kovan's scales rippled. "That's how you hunt? You exhaust your prey to death?" "Yes. That's..." Kovan searched for the word. "Terrifying," Taimin shrugged. "It's effective." Another Vrex warrior approached. His name was Darok, and he'd been the one laughing earlier about human weakness. Now his expression was different. "I thought humans were prey animals. Prey runs away. You ran toward danger." "We're predators," Taimin said quietly. "We just hunt differently than you do." Kovan extended his hand to help Taimin up. The human took it, and the Vrex pulled him to his feet. For a moment they stood face to face, the massive warrior and the small human. "I was wrong about you," Kovan said. "You are not prey." Movement near the trees caught their attention. Rylith limped into the clearing, one arm hanging uselessly at his side. His armor was cracked and blood seeped from cuts on his scales. But he was alive. Rylith looked at Taimin, then at the dead Ravager, then back at Taimin. The warrior's expression was complicated. Shame, maybe, or respect, or both. "You saved my life," Rylith said. His voice was rough with pain. "When the creature threw me, I would have been its next target." "But you drew it away," Taimin nodded. "You would have done the same." "Would I have?" Rylith asked. He sounded unsure. Jiwoo's voice crackled over the comm. "Taimin? Are you all right? We picked up weapons fire." "I'm fine," Taimin replied. "We encountered a local predator." "It's handled." "Handled?" Jiwoo sounded skeptical. "What does that mean?" Kovan took the comm. "It means your engineer killed a Thuros Ravager by running it to death. I wouldn't have believed it if I hadn't seen it." Silence on the other end. Then he did what? I'll explain later, Taman said. Right now, we need to keep searching for the scientists. They made their way back to camp. The Vrex helped Rylith walk, supporting his weight. Taman noticed how they looked at him now. Not with mockery, not with amusement. With something like respect. At the camp, they found tracks, lots of them. The scientists had fled from the outpost, pursued by multiple ravagers. The tracks led deeper into the jungle toward something marked on their maps. There's a structure here, Coven said, studying his scanner. Old, very old. According to the charts, it's a Vrex temple from before we achieved spaceflight. Why would they run there? Darok asked. Shelter, Taman suggested. Stone walls. Defendable position. If they knew about it, they might have thought it was their best chance. Kovan nodded slowly. We investigated first light. Rest now. We'll need our strength. The Vrex took turns on watch. When Taman's turn came, Kovan joined him. Tell me more about human hunting, the security chief said. So Taman did. He told Kovan about persistence hunting, about how human ancestors tracked animals across vast distances, about how humans could run in the heat of the day when other predators had to rest, about sweat and cooling and the ability to carry water. Kovan listened carefully. When Taman finished, the Vrex was quiet for a long time. We thought we knew all the ways to hunt, Kovan finally said. We thought strength and speed were everything. But you showed us something different. Patience, endurance, the long chase. Every predator has its method, Taman replied. Yes, Kovan agreed, but yours is perhaps the most frightening, because your prey never escapes. It only delays the inevitable. Taman smiled slightly. Now you understand. Morning came with mist rising from the jungle floor. The team moved out early, following the tracks toward the ancient temple. Taman noticed how the Vrex positioned themselves differently now. Before, they'd kept him at the back, treating him like cargo to protect. Now they moved with him in the middle of the formation, like he was one of them. The jungle grew denser as they traveled. Massive trees blocked out the sun, and strange flowers glowed with soft light. Everything here wanted to kill you. The plants had thorns full of poison. The insects were the size of Taman's fist. Even the ground itself could be dangerous, hiding sinkholes and quicksand. But Taman noticed things the Vrex missed. He spotted tripwires made from vines. He saw broken branches that marked a trail. He found a piece of torn fabric caught on a thorn bush. Someone came through here, he said, holding up the fabric. Recently, Kovan examined it. Human-made. One of the scientists. They moved faster now, hope pushing them forward. The tracks led them up a ridge and through a narrow canyon. On the other side, the temple waited. It was enormous. The structure rose from the jungle like a mountain made by hands instead of nature. Stone blocks the size of shuttlecraft formed walls and towers. Carvings covered every surface, showing scenes of hunts and battles. By the ancestors, Kovan whispered. His voice held something Taman had never heard before. Reverence, maybe even fear. You've never seen it before? Taman asked. This temple is forbidden, Kovan said. Only the eldest of our kind know of it. It's from the time before space travel, before we knew we weren't alone in the galaxy. He looked at Taimeen. I shouldn't be here. But the scientists are inside. We have no choice, they approached carefully. The temple's entrance was a massive archway carved with symbols. Inside, darkness waited. Rylith activated a light. The beam cut through the shadows, revealing a corridor that stretched deep into the structure. The walls showed more carvings. Vrex warriors hunting massive beasts. Vrex elders teaching young ones. Vrex civilization in its ancient glory. But something else caught Taman's attention. In one section of carvings, smaller figures stood beside the Vrex warriors. The figures were armed with simple weapons. They fought beside the Vrex, not behind them. Not running away. Who are they? Taman asked, pointing. Kovan moved closer, his light illuminating the ancient stone. His scales rippled with emotion. The bonded ones, he said softly. I thought they were just legends. Tell me about them. Kovan hesitated. It's forbidden to speak of them, but... He touched the carving gently. Long ago, when my people first left our world, we met another species. They were small like you, weak, we thought. We challenged them, expecting easy prey, but they fought back. They were clever and determined. They wouldn't give up. What happened to them? There was a war, not between our peoples, but with something else, something we don't have records of. The bonded ones vanished. We thought they were destroyed. We mourned them. and we vowed never to bond with another species again, because we felt we'd failed to protect them. Taemin studied the carvings more closely. The small figures wore primitive armor. They carried basic weapons, but something about them seemed familiar. Very familiar. What were they called? He asked. The name was lost, Kovan said. But the old texts call them those who pursue without ceasing. A chill ran down Taemin's spine. Those who pursue without ceasing. That sounded like something humans would be called. But this temple was thousands of years old. Humans had only joined the galactic community 30 years ago. Or had they? We need to keep moving, Kovan said, pulling himself away from the carvings. The scientists are still in danger. They pressed deeper into the temple. The air grew colder. Their footsteps echoed on ancient stone. More carvings showed the bonded ones and the wrecks fighting together, hunting together, standing together against enemies. They found the bodies in a side chamber, 3 scientists killed by ravagers. The claw marks were unmistakable, but there were 5 scientists assigned to the outpost. 2 were still missing. Darroch found more tracks. The others went deeper. This way. The corridor led to a massive chamber. Stone pillars held up a ceiling so high it disappeared into darkness. More carvings covered every surface, and in the center of the room sat a figure. "Help!" a weak voice called. They rushed forward. Dr. Minji, a human xenoarchaeologist, sat with her back against a pillar. She'd barricaded herself with fallen stones. Her leg was bandaged and her face was pale, but she was alive. Jiwoo would have been proud. Taemin knelt beside her and checked her wounds. "You're going to be okay. We'll get you out." The others, Minji whispered. "The Ravagers got them. I tried to help, but there were too many. I ran here. The temple. The carvings taught me how to hide, how to mask my scent, how to create false trails. Frex hunting techniques from thousands of years ago." "You learned that from carvings?" Kovan asked, impressed despite the situation. "I'm a xenoarchaeologist," Minji said with a weak smile. "I read dead languages. These carvings tell stories. Hunting stories. I use them to survive." Taemin helped her stand. "Can you walk?" With help, the temple suddenly shook. Dust fell from the ceiling. From outside they heard roars. Many roars. Kovan ran to the entrance and looked out. His expression darkened. Ravagers. A pack of them. At least 20. Rylith's voice cracked slightly. "We barely survived one." "They've surrounded the temple," Kovan continued. "They're testing the entrance, probing for weaknesses. They're hunting us." Taemin moved to the entrance and looked out. The Ravagers moved through the jungle with terrifying coordination. These weren't mindless beasts. They were intelligent pack hunters. And the team was trapped. "We can't fight them all," Darroch said. "Even if we had full ammunition, there are too many." "We hold the entrance," Kovan decided. "It's narrow. They can only come at us a few at a time. We have the advantage of position." "For how long?" Rylith asked. "We have limited power packs. Limited supplies. Eventually they'll overwhelm us." Taemin studied the temple's interior. "There might be another way. These old temples usually have multiple entrances, escape routes. If we can find them, we can block them. Force the Ravagers to come through only one entrance." "That could work," Kovan said, "but we need time to search." Outside, the Ravagers roared in unison. The sound made the stone vibrate. They were preparing to attack. "I'll buy you time," Taemin said. "What?" Kovan grabbed his shoulder. "You can't go out there. There are 20 of them. I'm not going to fight them," Taemin said. "I'm going to lead them away. Give you time to fortify the temple. They'll kill you. Not if I'm faster." Taemin checked his equipment. "I did it once. I can do it again." "Once was luck," Rylith said. 20 times is suicide." Taemin looked at the Vrex warriors. "Do you trust me?" Kovan stared at him for a long moment. Then slowly he nodded. "Yes, I trust you." "Good. When I run, you search. Find those other entrances and block them. Set up defenses. When I come back, I'll need a clear path to safety." "When you come back," Kovan repeated. "Not if." "When," Taemin confirmed. He walked to the entrance. The Ravagers saw him and went silent. 20 pairs of eyes locked onto the small human standing in the archway. Taemin took a deep breath. Then he ran. The Ravagers exploded into motion. They charged after him, their powerful legs tearing up the ground. Taemin led them away from the temple into the jungle, running at an angle that would take them in a wide circle. Behind him, Kovan watched until the human disappeared into the trees. Find those entrances, the security chief ordered, and pray to the ancestors that the human knows what he's doing. In the jungle, Taimin ran. 20 Ravagers chased him. This was going to be difficult, but difficult wasn't impossible. And impossible was just something humans hadn't done yet. He ran faster and the Ravagers followed. The chase had begun. Inside the temple, Minji looked at the carvings showing the bonded ones. "He's going to make it," she said quietly. "Because that's what we do. We never stop. We never give up." Kovan glanced at the ancient carvings, at the small figures who fought beside his ancestors, at the species who pursued without ceasing. "Yes," he said, "I'm beginning to understand that." The temple shook again as the last Ravagers left to join the chase. They had time now. Time to prepare, time to turn the temple into a fortress. Time to wait for Taimin to come back because he would come back. Kovan believed that now. Humans didn't know how to quit. Taimin ran through the jungle with 20 Ravagers behind him. This was different from before. One creature he could outrun, but 20? They could take turns chasing him. While some tired, others could stay fresh. He needed to be smarter. The jungle was dense here, full of obstacles. Taimin used every one. He ran under fallen trees that the Ravagers had to smash through. He jumped across streams that they had to wade through. He zigzagged between trees, making them constantly change direction. It was working. The Ravagers were fast, but they were big. Every obstacle slowed them down more than it slowed him. Every turn cost them momentum. Slowly, the distance between them grew. But not enough. They were still coming. Taimin ran for an hour. His legs burned. His lungs ached. But he kept moving. Behind him, he heard the Ravagers' breathing grow harsh. Good. Let them tire. Back at the temple, Kovan and his team worked frantically. They found 3 side entrances, just as Taimin predicted. Darok and 2 others blocked them with rubble and debris. They wouldn't hold forever, but they'd slow any attack. At the main entrance, Kovan positioned his warriors. They set up portable barriers and checked their weapons. It was a good defensive position. But if the Ravagers all came at once, it might not be enough. "How long has he been running?" Rylith asked. His injuries were bandaged now, courtesy of Minji's medical kit. Kovan checked his chronometer. 1 hour, 15 minutes. "He should be dead by now." "He's human," Kovan said. "I'm beginning to think 'should be dead' doesn't apply to them." Minji sat against a pillar, studying the ancient carvings. Something about them bothered her. The bonded ones looked too familiar. And the timeline was wrong. This temple was over 4,000 years old. But humans only achieved spaceflight 200 years ago, unless the history books were wrong. She pulled out her scanner and examined the carvings more closely. The symbols around the bonded ones were different from standard Vrex writing, older, more primitive. But she could make out some words: persistent, enduring, unbreakable. Brothers. Brothers. The Vrex called the bonded ones brothers, not allies. Not servants, brothers. "Kovan," she called out. "Come look at this." The security chief walked over. Minji pointed at a specific carving. "This shows a ritual, see? A Vrex and one of the bonded ones cutting their palms. Mixing blood, the blood bond," Kovan said quietly. "It's our most sacred ritual. We only perform it with those we consider true equals, true family. When was the last time your people did this?" 4,000 years ago, with the bonded ones. Kovan's eyes widened. I think the bonded ones were human ancestors," Minji said. "I think humans didn't just join the galactic community 30 years ago. We were here before, and we were allied with your people. But what happened? Where did they go?" "I don't know. But whatever happened, some must have survived and returned to Earth, and we forgot. Lost the records. Started over." A roar echoed from the jungle. The Ravagers were returning. Kovan rushed to the entrance. Taimin burst from the trees, running at full speed. Behind him came the Ravagers. But there were only 12 now. 8 were missing, too tired to continue the chase. The remaining 12 looked exhausted, their movement sluggish. "Clear the entrance," Kovan shouted. His warriors moved aside. Taimin ran through the archway and collapsed against the wall, gasping for breath. The moment he was clear, the Vrex opened fire. Plasma bolts and projectiles hammered the Ravagers. The tired creatures tried to dodge, but they were too slow. 3 fell immediately. The others scattered, seeking cover. "Hold position," Kovan commanded. "They'll try again." Taimin struggled to his feet. His legs shook, but he stayed upright. Rylith handed him a water container. The human drank deeply. 2 hours, Rylith said. His voice held something like awe. You ran for 2 hours with them chasing you. Closer to 90 minutes, Taman corrected between gulps of water. But yes. Impossible, no, just human. Outside, the Ravagers regrouped. They were tired and angry, but they were also smart enough to know a frontal assault would fail. They began circling the temple looking for weaknesses. They'll find the blocked entrances, Darroch said. Those barriers won't hold. Then we reinforce them, Kovan decided. Darroch, take 3 warriors. Shore up those barriers. The rest of us hold here. The next hours were brutal. The Ravagers attacked again and again. They threw themselves at the blocked entrances. They tried to climb the walls. They even attempted to dig under the foundation. Each time, the defenders drove them back. But ammunition was running low. Power packs were depleting. And the Ravagers weren't giving up. During a brief lull, Kovan found Taman working on something in a side room. The human had taken apart several pieces of equipment and was rewiring them. What are you doing? Making noise, Taman said. Ravagers hunt by sound and smell, right? I'm creating devices that will emit false signatures. We spread them around the temple exterior. The Ravagers will waste energy chasing ghosts. Kovan watched as Taman's small hands moved with precision, connecting wires and calibrating sensors. Where did you learn to do this? I'm an engineer. Problem solving is what I do. Taman finished one device and started another. Besides, humans have been tricking predators for thousands of years. We're not the strongest, so we got creative. Creative, Kovan repeated. Yes, that's a good word for humans. They deployed the devices. As predicted, the Ravagers wasted hours chasing false signals. But eventually they figured out the trick. And they were angry. The major assault came at dawn. All remaining Ravagers attacked at once, hitting every entrance simultaneously. The temple became a war zone. At the main entrance, Kovan fought beside his warriors. His claws tore through Ravager flesh. His strength sent the creatures reeling. But there were too many. A Ravager broke through the line. It charged straight at the wounded Rylith, who was too injured to dodge. The creature's claws descended toward the warrior's throat. Taman appeared from nowhere. He'd made a spear from broken equipment, and he drove it into the Ravager's side. The creature roared and turned on him. Taman couldn't dodge in time. The claw caught him, sending him flying into a wall. Kovan roared in fury. He leaped onto the Ravager and tore its throat out with his bare claws. Around them, the other Vrex fought with renewed ferocity. The Ravagers began to fall back. Kovan rushed to Taman. The human was bleeding from a cut on his shoulder, but he was already trying to stand. Stay down, Kovan ordered. Can't, Taman gasped. Still fighting. You saved Rylith again. You could have died, so could he. That's not acceptable. Kovan stared at the small human. Blood ran down Taman's arm. His body was covered in bruises. He'd been running for hours, fighting for hours, pushing himself beyond any reasonable limit, and he still wanted to fight. Something ancient stirred in Kovan's chest. A memory passed down through generations. This was what the bonded ones had been like. This was why his ancestors called them brothers. Kovan pulled out his ceremonial blade. Give me your hand. What? Your hand. Trust me. Taman extended his left hand. Kovan cut his own palm, then carefully cut Taman's. He pressed their hands together, mixing their blood. My ancestors would have called you brother, Kovan said in his native language. I will not dishonor them by doing less. You are Vrexkin now. You are family. Around them, the fighting had stopped. The Vrex warriors stared in shock. The blood bond. Their commander had performed the blood bond with a human. Rylith pulled himself up, leaning against the wall. Despite his pain, he raised his fist in salute. Brother, he said to Taman. One by one, the other Vrex warriors repeated the gesture. Brother. Outside, the Ravagers had fled. They'd finally realized they couldn't win. The temple was quiet except for the warriors' heavy breathing. Taman looked at his bloody hand clasped in Kovan's massive claw. What did you just do? Made you family, Kovan said. Bound you to my people forever. Taman smiled slightly. That's acceptable, Kovan laughed. It was a rough sound, but genuine. Acceptable. Only a human would call becoming Vrexkin merely acceptable. They stood together, predator and predator, united by blood and battle. Outside, the jungle slowly came back to life. The danger had passed for now. The shuttle ride back to the endless horizon was quiet. Taman sat with his bandaged hand, the cut from the blood bond still fresh. Kovan sat beside him, and the other Vrex warriors treated him differently now. They included him in their conversations. They asked his opinion on tactics. They called him brother. When the shuttle docked, Captain Arin was waiting with half the crew. Word had spread about what happened on Thuros 4. Word had spread about the blood bond, is it true? The captain asked Kovan. Did you really perform the ancient ritual? Yes, Kovan said simply. Taman is Vrexkin now, the first in 4,000 years. The gathered crowd erupted in noise. Aliens from a dozen species talked all at once. Some seemed excited. Others looked worried. A few looked scared. Jiwoo pushed through the crowd and grabbed Taman in a hug. You idiot. I heard you ran around the jungle with 20 Ravagers chasing you. It worked, didn't it? Taman said, That's not the point. She pulled back and looked at his bandaged hand. What's this? Long story. Over the next hours, the story spread through the ship, then through the fleet, then through the entire galactic network. The Vrex, the most feared warriors in known space, had performed the blood bond with a human. The implications were enormous. In the medical bay, Elder Thessa appeared on the view screen. She was ancient, her scales worn smooth with age. She was also the keeper of Vrex history and traditions. Bring the human to me, she commanded. I must speak with him. Taman stood before the screen in Captain Orin's office. The elder Vrex studied him with eyes that seemed to see through him. Tell me what happened on Thuros 4, she said. Everything, Taman did. He described the Ravagers, the temple, the carvings of the bonded ones. He told her about running for hours, about fighting beside the Vrex, about Kovan's decision to perform the blood bond. Elder Thessa listened without interrupting. When he finished, she was quiet for a long time. I must see the temple carvings, she finally said. Send me all the images Dr. Minji collected. The images were transmitted. Elder Thessa examined them carefully. Her expression changed as she studied the pictures. Shock, recognition, grief, hope. You are them, she whispered. You are the bonded ones, what? Captain Arin leaned forward. The species we thought we lost. The brothers who fought beside us thousands of years ago. They were human ancestors. Elder Thessa's voice shook. We thought they were destroyed in the war. But some must have survived. They returned to their homeworld. They rebuilt, and now they've come back to the stars. The revelation sent shockwaves through the galactic community. Humans weren't newcomers. They were a rediscovered species. A species the Vrex had mourned for millennia. The political impact was immediate. Species that had dismissed humans as weak prey suddenly reassessed. If the Vrex recognized humans as brothers, as equals, then humans were dangerous. Very dangerous. Some species pushed for restrictions on human expansion. They argued humans should be contained. Others sought alliances, hoping to gain the favor of the Vrex through association with humans. The Galactic Council called emergency sessions. Trade agreements were renegotiated. Military treaties were reconsidered. The entire power structure shifted, but aboard the endless horizon, life continued. Taman returned to engineering. He had work to do, systems to repair. The politics didn't interest him much. Kovan found him in the maintenance tunnels a week later. The security chief had to squeeze into the narrow space, his large frame barely fitting. I brought you something, Kovan said. He handed Taman a package. Inside was a knife. Not a human knife. A Vrex ceremonial blade scaled down to fit human hands. The handle was carved with symbols that meant family, honor, and persistence. For my brother, Kovan said. May you hunt well. Taman held the blade, feeling its perfect balance. Thank you. This means a lot. You earned it. You fought beside us. Bled beside us. That makes you one of us. They sat in comfortable silence for a moment. Then Kovan asked, Do you regret it? Becoming Vrexkin? Your life will be more complicated now. The galaxy sees you differently. Taman considered the question. No, I don't regret it. You're my brother. That's worth any complication. Kovan's scales rippled with emotion. The galaxy is learning what humans really are. Not prey, not weak. Predators who hunt in ways we never imagined. We're persistent, Taman said with a slight smile. That's the polite word for it. Terrifying is the accurate word. Any species that defeats its prey through sheer refusal to give up? Kovan shook his head. That's a special kind of dangerous. Over the following months, the relationship between humans and Vrex deepened. More blood bond ceremonies were performed. Vrex warriors requested to train with human marines, wanting to learn persistence hunting tactics. Humans asked to learn Vrex combat techniques. The other species watched with growing concern. The two species were different in almost every way. Vrex were massive, powerful, with natural weapons. Humans were small, relatively weak, with no claws or fangs. But together they were formidable. Rylith became an advocate for human-Vrex cooperation. He gave speeches about how Taimin saved his life twice, how humans proved themselves through action, not words. His injuries healed, but he carried scars that reminded him of the lessons learned on Thuros 4. Other species began studying human history more carefully. They learned about persistence hunting, about how humans survived ice ages and plagues, about how humans conquered their entire planet despite being physically inferior to most of Earth's predators. The word spread. Humans don't stop, ever. They might lose battles, but they never give up on the war. They might fall down, but they always get back up. They might be outmatched, but they'll find another way. That reputation made some species nervous. It made others respectful. But no one mocked humans anymore. One day, Taimin was working in the engineering bay when a young alien approached. She was from a herbivorous species that had always avoided humans, seeing them as frightening predators. "Engineer Taimin?" she asked nervously. "Could you help me with something?" "Of course. What do you need?" She explained a problem with her quarter's environmental controls. Taimin listened, asked questions, and figured out the solution. As he worked, the young alien watched him. "You're not scary," she finally said. "I thought humans would be scary. Everyone says you're these unstoppable predators." Taimin looked up from his work. "We're only dangerous to our enemies. To our friends, we're loyal. To our family, we're protective. That's what being a predator really means. Knowing when to hunt and when to protect. The Vrex call you brother." "Yes, and we call them brother, because we understand each other. We're both predators. We both know what it means to fight, to struggle, to refuse to give up." The young alien nodded slowly. "I think I understand now. You're not scary because you're strong. You're scary because you never stop." "Exactly," Taimin said with a smile. "But that same quality makes us reliable. If we're your ally, we'll never abandon you. If we're your friend, we'll never betray you. Persistence works both ways." She left looking thoughtful. Taimin returned to his work. That evening in the common area, a celebration was taking place. The Vrex had declared it Brotherhood Day, honoring the renewal of the ancient bond. Vrex warriors and human crew members ate together, told stories, and shared their cultures. Coven stood on a platform and raised his cup. 4,000 years ago, we lost our brothers. We mourned them. We thought we'd failed them. But they didn't die. They survived. They endured. They came back to us. Today we celebrate not just the past, but the future where Vrex and humans stand together again. As brothers, as family, as we were always meant to be. The room erupted in cheers. Taimin stood beside his Vrex brothers holding his own cup. He caught Jiwoo's eye across the room. She smiled and raised her cup in salute. Later, alone in his quarters, Taimin examined the ceremonial blade Coven had given him. The symbols carved into the handle told a story. A story of two species who found each other, lost each other, and found each other again. He thought about the bonded ones, his ancestors. They'd traveled the stars thousands of years ago. They'd fought beside the Vrex. They'd proven themselves worthy of the blood bond, and now Taimin had done the same. He'd shown the galaxy what humans were capable of. Not through arrogance or boasting, but through action, through persistence, through the same determination that let his ancestors hunt prey until it collapsed. The galaxy had mocked the tiny humans, called them weak, called them prey. But the Vrex, the apex predators of known space, knew better. They called humans brother, and that changed everything. Taimin smiled and set the blade aside. Tomorrow he'd return to work. There were systems to repair, problems to solve, work to be done. That's what he did. That's what humans did. They kept going. Always. No matter what. Because that's what predators do. The kind that never stop. The kind that their apex predator brothers call family. The kind that the galaxy would never underestimate again.